Welcome to Build with Raymond. This is the first time I'm doing this. Basically, shedding light on some of the interesting things that is happening when I build Wisp, right? And today I'm sharing with you how I can use AI agents to build technical articles. And here are some of the challenges here, right? Um, my grand question is, can basically AI help me write very technical articles? The goal that I have is actually to make existing article work for another framework, because I mainly use React and Next.js for for shipping my code. So but that it is a huge ecosystem, but it doesn't get the reach to other ecosystem um, at all, right? And I'm just trying to see if I can write introductory guides on, for instance, like starting a blog with Nuxt.js, right, for someone else's. So that would mean it needs to fulfill a few criteria. Number one, I wanted to know if it can be using the latest framework, for instance, Nuxt 3.12. The challenge with LLM is that they were trained prior to the launch of these new frameworks, so it does not have the native training on like how to write Nuxt 3.12 code or what's new in Nuxt 3.12. So we need to figure out like how to inject like all these new context into the LLM, right? For it to write those code. The next thing is also because Wisp is also very new, right? And there's limited articles out there on how it works, precisely because I'm still writing them, right? It needs to infer from existing documentation or even code, and see how it can be used for a new language or new frameworks altogether. And the next thing is to actually present it in a coherent format. In this case, I would like it to be a step-by-step guide, so that someone else can actually follow along. And very importantly for this kind of article, the code needs to be able to be executed, right? Because if not, people will get frustrated, they will drop off, and your article will not serve its purpose. And all of this thing, I know that we are eventually going to do some copy editing, because it's great if it works out of the box, but very rarely AI generated article actually does that, right? So that's the goal of this, right? So I already have some resources for Next.js, which basically is using React, right? But I want to repurpose this some of these guides or create new guides for Nuxt, which is using Vue, right? So Nuxt is using Vue, Next.js is using React. So it's two different frameworks, right? And the thing is that I've never written a single line of Vue prior to this exercise, so I have no idea. So I'll be looking at this from a beginner's lens as well, right? Following along and see if the article written by the AI actually works for me. Okay, and that's it, right? So what I'm doing is that so this is my agent, right? It's using internal tool that I use to build a workflow, right? I actually use it for some other purpose before, but for today I'm showing you how like it can be used to write articles. The workflow is using LangDraft.js, which is here. You can take a look at that if you are interested in, right? It basically allows you to build agents as a graph, right? And my graph looks like this, right? There's actually two agents. The first one is actually a content research agent, right? The main purpose is to actually research on, to put together research so that like the writer can actually write it. So the agent has access to several tools. The first tool is the web browser, so it will be able to browse specific websites, right, given the URL. The second tool is the Google search engine, right, allowing you to search for specific queries to find URLs for the web browser to visit, right? And once that research task is completed, it will hand over control to the writer agent, which actually has only one role, which is to write the article, right? And how it does it is that it has access to a tool that actually outputs it to a file, right? And basically that's it. It's a very simple two agent architecture, right? As described through this graph over here, right? And what I'm going to do is that I'm going to give it very basic instructions on help me write 3,000 word articles on how to add a blog onto a Next.js Nuxt 3.12 app using Wisp CMS, right? And I specifically mentioned to visit these two documentations, right? And also read some of the latest documentation on Nuxt, right? Because 3.12 is pretty new. It doesn't know everything from there. So the reason, so this prompt has been iterated multiple times, simply because something didn't work and I add more instructions to it just to fine tune it. So the agent is nowhere near perfect, and I'm definitely going to look into how to make it like more intelligent down the road, but we're going to just leave it as is first and show you how does this one work first, until I've figure out how to fix it, and then I'll show you the new version. Okay, so and of course I gave it some structure around like how the article should look like. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the agent, right? At the same time, I'm going to show you the previous output so that you can see the quality of the output first. Okay, so you can see I ran this multiple times. So this was the output that was given, right? And we're just gonna open it in a markdown preview. Actually, yeah. Okay, so let me see if I can increase the size. Okay, there you go. So ignore the agents, first. I'll talk about it later. But this is the article that was generated in a previous run. And this is the raw article. That means it has not been edited before, right? So you can see how to add a blog onto Nuxt 3.12 using Wisp CMS. Now, start off with what's new. Okay, this is interesting, right? Especially for people who are starting out in Nuxt, right? And it began by installing Nuxt. Something I realized later on is that this is the latest syntax, so it's quite interesting, right? And then it start off by recommending a component library and asking you to install the component library, and some of the useful things like length and prettier. Okay, so as of now, all of this thing works until this part. You can see it got chopped off, right? So it combined this with the tail end of the project structures, right? And then later on it talks about navigation, and then adding and configuring this with CMS. So this is actually correct, right? It's actually from the documentation and it got it right. Okay, and it's telling you how to fetch the content, and then it'll start off with like, oh, you can add a new file in the pages directory. You can do some basic styling, some broken part because of like how my editor tool was a little bit broken, so it didn't add new line in between, right? But you can see that there was code being written, right? So let's ignore the code first. I'll talk more about the code later, right? And then fetching related blog posts, adding dynamic meta text, sitemap generation, ARIA, hosting the project. So this is pretty comprehensive. There is no human editing yet at this point, right? So what I'm going to show you is the version between that and the human edited version. So what I did is that I actually went on to edit the article by actually following the article step by step, right? Because I've never written anything in Nuxt before or Vue before, so everything is new to me too, right? So I was following everything step by step, and turns out it works, kind of, right? So I'm going to show you how my new application looks like, right? This is the application. of course it's broken, right? But this is the blog listing page. You can see, hey, I can actually click into it and it brings me to the blog, right? And not just that, it has the related posts just beneath it, right? I can click on them and go to another post, right? So it's perfect. And I can perform a search, let's say Thailand, and enter, right? There you go. It's like everything related to Thailand, right? Yeah, so you can see slightly related. Okay, so all of this are written by the AI. You can see the styling is pretty poor because we aren't really focused on the styling, but you can see it's all wired up already. So of course there were some kinks along the way. For instance, it didn't ask you to put the Nuxt page in, and so on. So I did some basic copy editing on this one to make it work. What I'm going to show you next is the diff between the copy edited and working version and the raw version from the AI, right? So I'm just going to copy everything from here. Going back to here, right? So this is the original article written in Markdown, and I'm going to compare with the clipboard, right? So you can see my first editing is actually introduce a space here, right? Next one, it was not consistent because the later part were all using block, but it was using post up here in the file structure. I replaced some of the navigation stuff to initialize this Nuxt page thingy, right? And the plugin wasn't initialized properly. It's missing this sentence, so I was just adding it in, right? And then moving around the folder structure a little bit. Okay. Similarly, adding a new break, changing the the content type into Vue instead of HTML. This is just stylistic stuff, right? It's actually it's printing out the featured image, but actually I don't need the featured image because the image is already in the content itself, right? And there's additional stuff on adding navigation link, but it's already in there, so I just took it out. Okay, so from there, this is something broken. So this component, the original component, when I type any single character into it, it will perform the search already, which is quite silly because if I'm typing Thailand, the moment I press T, it will perform a search on the T. That's not what I want. So I asked Claude separately in another browser to fix it for me, and it gave me the fix on the left side, right? So the right side is the one that is giving you weird behavior. The left side works. Okay, and with that, actually that's almost all the changes that I've made on this article, and you can see that by following along the article, it works, right? So yeah, it's pretty amazing, and I'm actually surprised because if I'm learning, if I'm starting out programming, in this post AI age, it's quite fascinating because AI really teach you like how to get it done properly already. Okay, so let's take a look at the agent flow, right? So we have been running the agent for a while, and hopefully it didn't error out. Right, so this is the test application that I'm building. Right, so let's take a look at the agent. There we go. Okay, didn't work. Rerun this. Okay, I'm going to rerun the agent. Something broke, as you can see. This is not perfect yet, but I'm going to go through the flow to show you what happened in between, right? So once I run the agent, you can see it started off by searching the 4 pages, right? Let's go back to the workflow to take a look at. So I suggested 4 links. You can see it's fetching the content of these links. Performed some searching on Google, right? It's not annotated here, but that's what is happening, right? And it visited 4 different pages, right? So you can see these are official Nuxt tutorials, right? And then from there, you know, I decide again to, you know, go to Nuxt page again and starts writing the article, right? So it started writing how to add a blog, introduction, right? And it continues to write to it. So let's take a look at the flow, right? So the thing about building AI is that it's very non-deterministic, and it can you know, literally go anywhere and everywhere. So it's also very important to build in tracing. And this is what I did. So I'm using LangSmith to actually build out the tracing. I'll talk about the cost later. I see sometimes it gets expensive. Okay, but let's look at this one. Okay, so LangSmith allows you to you know, take a peek into, you know, what the execution flow looks like. So we start off with the input. This is like my system instructions to tell it to, you know, basically do its research, right? And the human instructions on basically what to write for the blog post, right? And the output is go to this page with the web browser tool, right? And that's what it did. So for each of these outputs, you can see it visits the page and extracted the content from there. So it extracted 4 pages worth of content, and then coming back to here, right? You'll see that, okay, this time around it says I need more time and continue execution, but this is the rough outline for my article, right? You can see starting off with introduction, what's new, setting up the project structure, adding Wisp, so on, right? And then the next step is actually to look at the setup guide, project structure, using Wisp, implementing a search in Nuxt, and hosting the application. So it performed all these searches with different links coming back, and after that it hands over the control back over to the AI, and the AI, you know, after looking at what maybe 100 links on here, it says I want to look at search functionality, I want to look at search guide, ESLint module, getting started, and something about Amazon Web Services. Then from there, it goes on to visit those posts, and then coming back down here, right? You know, continuing the execution, right? And it says that I need a little bit more time. What I need to do is to search again for latest features of Nuxt 3.12, right? And later on it decides to browse again, right? And then go back again, right? And continue again. So once it's here, so yeah, so it's mark it as task completed, right? So now what happens is that the writer agent will now take over, and the writer agent has a different system instructions this time around. So you can see, you know, it's been told that you have been provided a content idea, research material on the topics, and a brief outline of main points to cover, and then it writes the article. So the first thing it does is that, so you have to go to the end, right? It calls the output, so it appends this content and then this content, right? Calls it twice, and then go take the controls back to OpenAI, and then it continues writing. So you can see it will continuously write towards the file, and what I'm going to do is that, okay, okay, something is odd. Yeah, so you can see what's happening here is that it's taking too long, like the stopping condition has not been met, right? So let's take a look at the latest execution. So even for the latest execution costing 190, right? So you can see it's doing a lot of this. Let me see. I can actually reduce the research to let me do this. Okay, so the instructions here are not very good, and it ends up in a loop, right? So completion task, okay. So this is actually a system instructions for the researcher, but you can see it's not terminating. So what I'm doing here is that I'm actually asking it to be terminated earlier so that it does not, get stuck in the graph for too long, right? So I'm saying that you may only use LLM 4 times, right? So instead of the 6th time. So let's try that again. What is that? Okay, so there are some errors with the web page, which I think it's handling well. So it's just ignoring the content there. Okay. So let's re-execute this again. So you can see sometimes AI is a very expensive endeavor because every run costs you cents to dollars, right? But what I realized is that when it works, it's amazing. It's just that sometimes it breaks for no apparent reasons at all, right? So something that I would be interested in is actually to try out the new ChatGPT 4.0 mini, right? Yeah, it's said to be as good as like 4.0, right? Faster and 20 times cheaper. So that's gonna help. Okay, let's look at this again. So you can see visited the 4-page, yes, right? Visited some of the Nuxt official guides, right? Getting started, that's good, right? Content, oh, so it's already handing over the research to the writer, which is great, right? So it's not getting stuck in the writing process anymore, right? And I'm going to show you why that happens, because at the, can you see, right? So once it reached the limit where basically I'm saying that, hey, enough, hand over your control right now. The system will actually say, warning, reaching the maximum call depth for the agent, mark the task as completed or failed in the next response. So it's like, okay, completed, right? I have all these materials already, so please go ahead and complete it. And that's where the control is handed over to the writer. So the writer right now is appending the article, so we can watch it as it writes. So this is interesting. So first call, right? How to add a block using VCMS introduction. Call count 2, right? Adding the second section, adding a block post list page. Third section, adding text page. Fourth section, adding search functionality, right? Okay, fifth section, adding related blog posts. So this is something interesting for people who use LLMs to write articles. That is, it is actually very hard to write long ass article like in the past 1,000 words because of the limitations of the context windows. So what I'm doing here is actually to get the AI to write chunk by chunk, right? So that it can use like the maximum context window for writing, and then use it again, right? To keep writing. So it's able to get past the context window output problem, right? So as you can see, it's done writing, and this is the full article, right? Actually, it's written to this file here, so I'm just gonna close this. There you go. I'll open this in Markdown Preview. Just making this slightly bigger for you. There you go. How to add a block onto a Nuxt 3.12 using Wisp. What's new? I like this better. It's more compressed. Setting it up, choosing a component library. I like this. Project structure. Okay, this is correct. Simply because I know a little bit more about Nuxt right now. Okay, setting up Wisp. Okay, this is correct. this is correct, right? Adding blog posts. Okay, this is accurate, but it's missing something which I have added, which is using the Nuxt page, right? But this is correct. Adding a blog detail page, right? This is correct. So you can see Wisp is really easy to use. You can just use this and yeah, it'll get mounted. That's correct. Okay. Adding search functionality. So this is, oh, this time it's using an enter key. So this is even better than the previous one that's been generated. Okay, adding related blog posts. Okay. So you can see it's using related, the right APIs. That's amazing, right? Something about SEOs, handling graph and publish states. Okay. Adding social, wow, you can even do social sharing. Okay, this is interesting. And then hosting the project. Okay, CI/CD with a nice conclusion. Okay, this is amazing. So you can see, yeah, AI is pretty good at it. I'm pretty sure like there's still some editing to be done for that that blog post over there. Let's take a look at the execution, right? The total cost of it is about $2, right? And this is the trace. Let me open it up. So let's review that. So you start off with the with the instructions, and it says visit all for this page. You have been there, so I'm going to skip it. Then after that, it says you know, the AI says, okay, visit these 3 pages, right? And it did. And once it was done with that, it says you know, visit this 3 other page. So that was the search. Now it's visiting these 3 pages, and it did, right? And then that's where the system prompted. It's like, be done now, or I'm gonna kill you. And then it says that, okay, I'm done. Right? Okay, when it's done, then it hands over the execution to the writer. And now the writer actually has the context over like all the research materials previously. You can see it's all here, right? It's all there. And from there, it go ahead and writes the article. So you can see it calls the output with the append tool. So let's take a look at this, right? So when this is executing, it's calling my append article tool with the content over here, right? And that actually writes to the file, right? And then it comes back again, and it continues to write using the append tool. So each time it's appending new sections to the file, and you can see like the articles being built out slowly. So it continues appending until it is done here, right? Where basically at this point, you know, after it added the conclusion and everything, it says task completed. Good job, and we are done, right? And you can see like the article is pretty amazing, right? So what I'm gonna do later is I'm really gonna compare like the latest article to see if it's any better than the previous one. So it's been a while. Let's sum this up. So let's take a look at how we can basically yeah, just publish it. So after I have written the article, I'm just going to show you like what's the publishing flow looking like for me anyway, right? So I tend to just let's just turn this into a reading view, right? Because most of the time I can just do this, copy everything and just plonk it in here. There you go. Cut this, without this. Okay, so how to add a block onto okay, this is interesting. But I actually like the new one more, the section on what's next. So I'm just going to copy this. This is a little bit more concise, right? There you go. So introduction. That's next. There you go. Aha. Even the links works. Right, setting up a project, installing, yada yada yada. Okay, some extra spaces here and there. It's okay. Okay. It's looking really good. For some reason there are extra spaces everywhere. That's alright. I'll just remove them. Something I noticed is that maybe I should do some syntax highlighting within this editor so that like it's more enjoyable for people who are using Wisp to write more technical articles that has code in there. But the thing is that this is a headless software, so it doesn't really matter anyway. Okay, so area attributes. Okay, hosting the project. So this is correct. Using Vercel, it's correct. Okay, looking good. Okay, the other thing is basically adding a image, nice image to this. Let's do something generic first. Okay, let's use something like this. Okay, how to add a block? Okay, it's a little bit too big. Okay, so nice image here. So move myself there. Export. Other. Okay. Drag and drop. So I'm also showing you like how I write blocks with like with some extra spaces. Okay, looking good, right? Okay, so publish, right? Let's take a look at. Okay, just add a short description. I'll edit this later. Let's add a block. There you go. Okay, so selecting the featured image. Okay. Anything interesting? What the hell? 0 to what? Blogging code. Nuxt. Technical guide. Walkthrough code. Walkthrough. Adding a few. Okay. Publishing it. There you go. And we are done. How to add a block onto a Nuxt 3.1 to add using. There you go. You can see going from pretty much nothing to publishing, right? And the nice thing about this is that yeah, it automatically gives you related posts as well. So that's it. That's using AI agents, right? To do that. Just a quick recap, some of the things that I use is LangGraph, right? For writing the agents, right? And then LangSmith for the tracing, right? Yeah, so you might want to experiment with this and let me know like what you do. You know, how is it like for you? For me, I'm gonna like fine tune a little bit more on the agent's instructions and maybe release part of it as a small software if any of you are interested. But it's generally still a distraction for me to just like publish new things like that. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this small little session of like Build with Raymond. It's something new. If you are interested to just build more and explore with me, sometimes with like AI, sometimes not, just follow along, and we shall see like where this goes.